What up, Mac is? What up, YouTube? Not feeling so great today. Got like blood running out my nose. It's a first for me. But I got a pigeon story for you pigeon fanciers, for you guys that have been asking for more pigeon stories. I'm going to revisit one today and, add some things to it. Welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories. Welcome to another episode, KM Videos, True Stories.
I give a roll, you know what I'm saying? Rolling down the street in my city car. Oh, I hit front, back, side to side.
For my love, my dog, the pimp, the hog.
Check it out.
Had this dope, sweatshirt and low soul.
That was it. I never stopped banging. I started banging hard, then I got so hard till it was a shame.
Welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories. Today's story really starts in like 1980 or 81. The actual point of the story takes place around 2003-ish, something like that. So let's get into this. So back in like 1980 or 81, I strayed in my first roller pigeon, and it had a band on it, Bruley Spinners. I called a number, and it's Burnett Bruley. I go down, I meet him, I take the bird, and he gives me some birds in exchange for that bird, meaning he valued that bird, he really liked that bird or wanted that bird. And so I got to meet him as a little kid, as I was about 12 years old. And mom's take me to a spot. He had a big old pigeon cage. I was impressed. They called him Birdman, and he was living in East Coast hood at the time. I always kept his phone number and kept in touch with this dude for a lot of years. And after going to prison, I got back into the pigeons, got back into hustling. So I started spending money on pigeons. Money that I never thought I would spend on pigeons. Outrageous prices, buying all kind of food, and, having Burnett Bruley build me a lot of different pigeon cages over the years. But I learned a lot from this dude. So I admired this dude in the roller pigeon game. To me, he had the best pigeons. Now, you had a lot of guys throughout the city, Compton, L.A., far out like Azusa, West Covina. But they had big pigeons that really could roll hard, could really fly high. Burnett had small pigeons, which I got from him, and I started to enjoy the smaller pigeons. They take less food, they make less mess, they're real light and easy to work with, but they're not as strong as the larger pigeons. But Burnett's pigeons, they rolled. They really rolled. They brought up in a tight spin, came down a long way. So I really liked his pigeons. And in the 2000s, started buying pigeons from dudes, Curtis Melicon and Burnett Bruley was right across Wilmington from the Melicon. So I hooked back up with Burnett Bruley. He was living with his sister at his sister's house, and then he had moved to Watts, Front Street Watts, so I stayed in touch with him, and he built me this big old nice cage. Best cage I ever had. Biggest and best cage I ever had. And I had a breakup cage. I had the cocks on one side and the hens on the other side. For those that don't know what that is, the males and the females. So I could break them up. And, it's a lot of strategy that goes into that. And then I had my breeding cages, and I had my flyer cage, and there was plenty of space in there. So one day I go over to Burnett's house, and he tells me, through moving, he had to get rid of all his pigeons. So I'm like, damn, man, and he's telling me who I could get pigeons from. I'm like, nah, man, I like your pigeon. I like the strains you had. So he mentions this guy to me named Mont. And I'm riding through like Compton or Long Beach. I don't remember if it was Compton College or Long Beach College, but I see this flock of pigeons. And I stopped, and I never stopped. I always look at people's pigeons, but I never stopped. I pulled over and I'm looking at these pigeons, and I'm impressed. I'm like, damn, man, whoever this is, he got some badass pigeons, rolling deep and tight. Not necessarily in a tight kit like Brulee's or Curtis Melicons, but I'm like, damn, somebody got some nice pigeons. So I end up calling the number that Burnett had gave me on Mont, and I go over there. Turns out it's one of the Monts from 6 Deuce East Coast. And his sister is related to my kids and my kids' mom. But I ain't knowing that at the time. I'm not putting 2 and 2 together. And I go over there and I'm like, man, Burnett Brulee told me you got some of his birds. He's like, yeah, I got a few. I want to buy them. So he said, I'm going to fly them for him. I'm like, no, you don't have to fly them for me. He said, no, I'm going to fly them for you. Because I already seen him fly. So I didn't need to see him fly. But he said, I'm going to fly them for you. So when he let his birds out, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, that one's cool, that one's cool. Man, I don't want that one. Oh, no, I hope I don't pick that one. And this one comes rolling. He rolls straight through the pack. Rolled about 90 feet, about 2 telephone poles, probably more than that. And he comes up out of it. And I noticed he got some white tips. He got a little white up top. And he's like a plum color, like the color of a plum. So he's like a strawberry, like a burgundy, a brown, and all of these different colors, right? So I keep my eye on that bird. I only watch that one bird the whole time his birds are flying now. I follow that bird. I don't want to blink my eyes. I don't want to get distracted. I'm only watching that one bird. And so his birds come down. He trained his birds well. His birds come down. And I say, I want that bird right there. And he picks a different bird. No, not that one. I want that one right there with the white tips. That one? No, that one. So he calls his birds in. Birds come in. I'm like, man, how much you want for that bird? He said, man, my birds ain't for sale. I'm like, $25? Which was kind of high for a pigeon back then. He like, nah. $50? Now I'm getting up there. Nah. So I reach in my pocket. I got $220. And I'm ready to buy like a couple pairs of about 5 birds and leave with some change. He sees that money. His eyes get big. I say, 200. He say, sold. Like we at an auction. He say, sold. I was kind of upset with myself for spending 200 for a bird, but I really wanted Burnett Brulee's line, right? So he say, that's Rocket. Who is Rocket? He said, that's Rocket. I named him Rocket. Came from Burnett Brulee's Rocket line. Don't mean nothing to me, but shit, all right. So I take this bird home. I breed this bird, but it's a male, it's a cock, it's a male bird. So I breed it, and the bird only lays 1 egg. My dumb ass takes the egg and try to put it on somebody else's nest to raise that egg. That didn't work. So I wasted a baby, a squab. They made again, only 1 bird, one egg. Like, damn. So I go ahead and let that egg hatch, and then I rebreed them. And they get 2 eggs. So I'm waiting on these 2 eggs. And the baby came out somewhat looking like Rocket. Beautiful bird, man. Beautiful, clean, great demeanor, all that. So I never flew this bird or the baby. I just kept them because I put it with one of my best hens. So I knew what I was getting, and I wanted to build a line. I wanted to build up a bloodline before I messed that off because I had spent $200. And I wasn't going to be able to get no more Brulee. birds, right? And so Bobby Day, little Bobby Day, Bobby Bird Jr. used to clean my pigeon cage at the time. I used to give him $10 or give him a rock, clean out my cage and shit. So he looked forward to that. He used to try to clean out my cage every day. Like, hold on, brother. You know, a couple times a week, man, a couple times a week. So I had this breeder's cage where I had them locked up by pairs. And then on the other side, I had this big old breeder cage where they could just go breed all they want. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about my pairs. I had put a screen door, bar screen door over my door just to make sure no birds get out, nobody have an easy time breaking in my cage. So Bobby Day comes over, and I specifically tell Bobby Day, I said, look, man, I got some birds over there. Do not let them birds out. Because he used to want to clean the cage so bad, he would open up the breeder's cage one by one and let the breeders out while he cleaned out the cage. Because I guess he was scared of the pigeon, or maybe he wanted to do a good job, but I didn't really like for them to come out. Because then they think you're messing with the eggs and stuff, and you scare them, and it's a possibility they get out. So I told him, make sure you make sure you shut the door behind you and shut the screens as well. I go on about my business. He finished cleaning the cage, I break him off, he leaves. I come back to the cage, and Rocket is gone. I'm like, no, where the hell is Rocket? So I'm hoping Rocket gets out and comes back. He don't come back. I seen way up in the air. This might be like 30 minutes later. I seen way up in the air just doing this thing, just circling, going up to a dot. And he's just circling and circling. He ain't leaving, he's staying around. I'm hoping he come back. And he takes off. So I never get that bird back again. So I ended up, I think I said this in a story before, I ended up taking his son and breeding it back to his mate. So the son and his mom mate. And so I start to get my family going off of that. Those other two eggs never hatched because once the cock was gone, the mom didn't want to sit on the eggs no more. So I only got that one kid out of them, but then I got like 4 off the son to the mama. By that time, I sold all my birds and my cage so I could buy a house in Las Vegas. So it was no more Eileen, no more pigeons in 2005. And I called Bruley thinking he would want some of his line. He like, nah, but I got some dudes that'll buy him. So some dudes from Front Street area came and bought everything, bought my cage, my pigeons, all that. I gave him a sweet deal, really, really sweet deal. That was the end of my pigeons. I never had pigeons again, but I always have Rocket on my mind. I asked Burnett about it. He said, that's my Rocket line. You know, he had bred birds to where they was spinning, they was going up and they was spinning, and he dubbed them the Rocket line. And so this bird came from that line. Man, this was a beautiful bird, man. I love that bird. I still think about that bird. And I believe I had a picture. I have no idea where them pictures are at, man. In fact, when Burnett built me my last cage, I didn't have that bird at that time. That bird was taken lost out of my previous cage. Man, I was mad at Bobby Day, man. I said, you can't clean my cage no more. I cut him off. He couldn't clean my cage no more. I was pissed off. Not about the $200, but about how good this bird was and that I was trying to build off of this bird. But that's it for today, man. The lesson is, if you value something, don't take your eye off of it. Don't let nobody else mess around with your valued possessions without your supervision. I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a good day. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Don't forget to click that like button. I tell all sorts of stories here. But I'm out of here, y'all. Salute.
This is Los Angeles.